Nothing But the Truth. Hello, I'm Raj Chengappa of India Today and your host for Nothing But the Truth. Every week we will deal with key issues of concern and bring you perspectives and clarity as to why these matter to you without holding back on the truth. In this episode, we would look at the long-awaited Mood of the Nation poll. It is a biannual poll that India Today magazine has been doing for almost 20 years now, and this time it comes at a very interesting time. We've had a general election in June 2024, and the expectation was that an aberration that saw the BJP drop from what they expected 400 seats to just 240 and below the majority mark, and therefore had to form a coalition, or was the opposition and their demand that they should get the full majority, and somehow they never got it, though the mood of the nation was for them. This is the huge contradiction and debate that is going on. So let's clarify. We're very happy to welcome at this stage Yashwant Deshmukh, founder of C Voter, who does the India Today Mood of the Nation poll. We collaborate together, the magazine and I, and I'm going to show you the latest issue. It's just out, and probably the headline gives it away. Modi holds steady, Rahul emerges. That's the larger finding, but let's drill this down, Yashwant. Let's start with the fact that given the timing of this particular thing, one of the things that came through was the fact that the numbers stayed somewhat the same. Am I right? If you could just give a broad picture as to what were the numbers that have come out?
Numbers are more or less broadly the same, and of course there were a few shockers in the Lok Sabha elections. Arguably the Uttar Pradesh was the biggest shocker,
right.
and as this Mood of the Nation poll shows, that the shockers for example for BJP, the UP or Maharashtra or Bengal, they were not flukes. I mean, they were pretty much there. Even though in our January Mood of the Nations and otherwise also, we for the last 2 years, Maharashtra shocker, we have been predicting that it's not smooth, and Bengal was always a cliffhanger of sort. UP was a shocker even for us, because we thought that BJP would be about 45%, it was. But the Samajwadi Party Congress alliance, it got up because Mayawati came down.
But before we get into this, we haven't really, let us first talk of the big numbers.
Yeah.
The big numbers is that the BJP will get marginally more seats if an election was held now.
Just about marginal.
So that they move from 240 to 244.
Yeah.
The NDA alliance will move from 293 to
299.
To 299. The India alliance, which had about 230 seats, will go to 233.
But the Congress goes up from 99 to 106.
So that's the big numbers that's
the
there.
big number.
And interestingly, in terms of the vote percentages, the BJP gains 1.5% or so, which moves from 36.5 to 38%. The Congress moves from 19% of the votes to 25%.
Yeah.
So that's the large number that's there. Now, if you look at what is the larger message coming from this particular poll? Everyone knew the results, but what did this mean?
I think what it means is that the Congress is now at the center of the opposition, back, in that way, and Rahul Gandhi is now back in the center of the Congress.
Right.
I mean, these are the two biggest things, and it is not surprising to us from data perspective, but it is surprising to many in many more ways than one, because India Alliance and the alliance partners, particularly Mamata Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal, they were actually at one point of time pitching for the central role, and so much so that 2 years back in our MOTN, right after the Punjab elections, Arvind Kejriwal's number were almost at par with Rahul Gandhi in the national numbers. But it seems that is now taken. That is settled. Without Congress, there is no opposition, and without Rahul Gandhi, there is no Congress at this point of time. So that question is settled. This is the kind of a reinvention for Rahul Gandhi. And yes, I know, many people do talk about our India Today covers, that how many times we have launched Rahul Gandhi in that way. But I genuinely believe that it's not a question of launching or relaunching Rahul Gandhi or the Congress. But what happens is that if a party which in the worst possible situation is hovering around 20% of the national votes, Raj, that means there is a traction for that party and that leader. question is not whether these elections are propping Rahul Gandhi in the center. The answer lies in, and which we asked people very clearly, what they felt about, for example, Bharat Jodo Yatra, what they felt about Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi has come across as a much more matured person, stable person, and the person who has hit the ground during the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
And you say that because the gap between Prime Minister Modi and Rahul Gandhi has narrowed in terms of when we ask the question who would be best suited to be the next Prime Minister. The Prime Minister Modi gets 49%. Rahul Gandhi moves from 12% to around 22% at the moment. That's the so there is a somewhat of a surge for him, whereas Prime Minister Modi's figures actually drop, but still very high, 49%. And if you take the gap, that's still 27%.
Exactly. But Prime Minister's numbers which dropped, Raj, they largely went to don't know, can't say category. The jump in Rahul Gandhi's number have largely come from the numbers which have been crashed down on Mamata Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal front.
Right.
So, one thing is very clear, opposition voters are very clear that Rahul Gandhi is the man to challenge Modi.
Right.
Now, this data is not to be misread as that Rahul Gandhi has arrived. Yes, Rahul Gandhi has overturned Modi. No. One should not be confused with the other.
Fair enough.
Because Mr. Modi, as you mentioned, is still at 49%, which is more than double of what Rahul Gandhi's ratings are. But at the same time, the revival of Congress in certain states is so significant that it underlines the fact that a default party can always be in a position to gain by default whenever the ruling party numbers go down. For
Maharashtra is a good example. Yes.
Absolutely. Think of Maharashtra, Raj. 2014 assembly election, when every party contested on its own. In Maharashtra, Congress was literally the number 4 party.
Correct.
Right. And at this point of time, in the last 2 years, the entire political controversy in Maharashtra, when was the last time anybody discussed Congress? We were discussing Sharad Pawar, Ajit Pawar, Shinde and Thackeray and the BJP and Fadnavis and everybody. Congress was not even discussed. So, Congress in the Maharashtra political race was nowhere to be seen. It was literally party number 4. But look at the results. What has happened? While everybody was focused on Mumbai, Konkan, Western Maharashtra, North Maharashtra, Congress actually won by default against BJP in Vidarbha and Marathwada, the 2 territories where it was the Congress versus BJP
a direct fight. And
right.
that I think is a very important
very
message
important
that is
fight.
I just want to come right back to Prime Minister Modi, because one of the things that was very important in this thing is that there is a reiteration in this poll that they believe in continuity of Prime Minister Modi in terms of the fact that they believe that he's still the best bet to lead this country with conditions, caveats and riders.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
they have not given, and that I think the most interesting thing is that the outcome is that of the Mood of the Nation poll is that result that happened in June 2024 was not an aberration. People genuinely wanted a strong opposition to emerge. They wanted to keep, in some senses, send a message to the BJP, do not be too overconfident.
Absolutely.
You need to deliver on that. The other thing I thought we should, one of the things we noticed is that if you look back at history, there are only 3 prime ministers that have had 3 terms. The first was Prime Minister Nehru, who had 3 consecutive terms. We know that in his 3rd term is when the 1962 war happens with China. India loses badly in that. He is a broken man, and by 1964,
he died a broken man. I mean, let's face it. Yeah, he died.
He had, his credibility had considerably diminished. His persona had diminished, and he died in 1964. So the first prime minister that had 3 consecutive terms doesn't do too well in the 3rd term.
Yeah.
Now, when you come to Indira Gandhi, she has 2 terms, right? But by the second term, and then there's a break, right? But in the second term, her record is blackened by the declaration of the emergency. And of course, she comes roaring back in 1980 when the entire Janta experiment fails. There again, she runs into a headwind, where we are seeing that by the time she's dealing with Sikh militancy, and then of course the Operation Blue Star, and then her assassination. So she is not able to complete her 3rd term. And now Mr. Modi has hit his 3rd term. the history is not very kind. And here we see he's not dealt with a great hand in the sense that he had expected 400, partly his own making, but drops to 240.
Right.
So what is the message that is coming from this poll? You know, it is probably being reiterated, but what is the big message for Prime Minister Modi?
I think when we asked this question, actually we framed a question regarding that how actually people read this mandate, how they are looking at this mandate of 2024.
Right.
Almost a third of chunk they said that it's for the continuation of that. That's fine. But for me, the most important were the next two. You know, they looked at is that, you know, we want continuity, but with the checks and balances.
Right.
Right. And that's what the common man on the ground is saying. They say that the tone or the arrogance, the evident arrogance on the face of the spokesperson or the party performers or the arrogance in the ministers, that needs to be toned down. There is a sense that, okay, Modi is fine, but not everybody around Modi is fine. There is a sense that, okay, you talked about double engine, triple engine, whatever engines you talk about. But the thing is that if your chief minister is not working properly, if your sitting MPs are non-performing, we are not going to vote for him just because they belong to Mr. Modi's party.
Right.
Right. So that kind of holding them accountable for what their performance is. You know, so these are the messages of the mandate which the public is reading how their mandate is. Not only they voted it, they are underlining it. That's how we voted it for. We wanted the continuation, but these course corrections. The arrogance level has to be pulled down. There has to be more accountability as far as the chief minister and the sitting member of parliament is concerned. And if you cannot pull them up, you know, then just because Mr. Modi is on that ticket, don't expect us to vote.
Absolutely.
You know, in that way. Now, of course, the default gain of all these things is opposition. Somebody loses, somebody gains. You know, the numbers were dropped, somebody has to pick up.
But let us also be, I mean, give Rahul Gandhi his credit. It is not by default that he has
No,
surged
of course
to
not.
the
I mean,
level.
my idea is not saying that because
Rahul Gandhi did his Bharat Jodo Yatra. He
give
earned
full
his
credit.
spurs over there. He now comes more, he's also transformed or reinvented himself. He's ideologically positioned himself
on the other pole of the BJP.
Right?
Yeah,
He
that's
said,
right. Yeah.
he talks of the fact that you know, Nafrat ka bazaar,
Exactly.
Mohammed ka dukan. So that was a huge slogan that he used, and he starts working. He's in some senses taking up a lot of causes.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
justice.
yeah, you are right.
And
I mean,
the justice
when I say
platform he goes
default
into.
gains, Raj, default gains in terms of being the principal opposition in that
Right.
way. But that doesn't mean default gains are coming just because you are there and doing nothing.
What happened in Maharashtra?
Yeah, exactly.
That was
So
there.
Rahul Gandhi's, I believe Rahul Gandhi's fortune started turning in that way when he started the Bharat Jodo Yatra. I believe that that is when people started looking at him, okay, this guy is serious. He is just not running away, you know, he is no more that pappu thing in that way. He is talking and he is walking and he is not leaving the Yatra midway or anything. Although the BJP campaign tried its level best to demean the Yatra, pull him down in that way, but the Yatra proves, and by the way, when I remember when we were discussing the Bharat Jodo Yatra tracker on our show, you mentioned a very classical point that no Yatra in the history of India has ever gone without any rewards.
Absolutely.
No Yatra. So obviously, every Yatra, when you are hitting the ground, it humbles you. You look at the real people. You meet the real people.
And people think you mean this.
And people think that you are closer to them. People look at you that, okay, the guy is amicable, the guy is young, the guy is talking sense and like that. And that pulls the pulls your inactive voter out, or the lethargic voter out, or the voter which is essentially anti-BJP, but somehow disheartened to see that there is nothing being concrete done by the
And
opposition.
also, let's look at the fact that he brings, apart from the the ideological moving that he's challenging the BJP with, and projecting himself also as part of the Hindutva, that, you know, it's not an exclusive preserve of the BJP. He also takes up the justice cause, and the caste census becomes very critical, where, you know, when the BJP overreaches at 400 seats, it is made out to be that they really want to deny reservations to the scheduled caste. And so he plays with the whole justice thing, which from what, you know,
I think they played smart.
Yeah, and
they
I
played
walked
smart.
with him.
I mean, many times I see, when I look at the BJP spokesperson, oh, ये तो झूठ बोल करके, अरे झूठ बोला सच बोला, politics में ये मत बताइए. Main thing is that their message was bought by big chunk of Dalit voters.
Correct.
Right. And they swung. They swung from your side, and they, despite of all your Labharti Yojnas, the moment it came to the identity politics, that okay, constitution is our identity.
Correct.
And you guys might change the constitution. Why do you need 400 seats
Correct.
for? You know.
So that whole thing began to turn. And I mean, among the questions we ask is, do you want a caste census? And overwhelmingly
yes.
people say that.
Yes, yes.
So, I mean, this is an uncomfortable thing for the ruling party, which didn't want to see a caste census
look at
come.
the three uncomfortable things for the ruling party that we asked, and all three were affirmative from the public. Caste census, people said that we wanted.
That's correct.
Then Agniveer, they said that launch it, but with the tweaks and the corrections.
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
They said they were not against keeping it, but they said corrections are required.
And quite a substantial set.
Quite a substantial number, yeah.
And then if you look the MSP, minimum support prices for farmers, which 87% should be implemented.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a large number, and it's moved up also from
one thing is very clear, and this happened, and I think whenever we ran the trust in institution poll, Raj, we realized that people's trust of army, the farmers, the hard workers as an institution, you know, that was always high. So when Shastri ji gave Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, he knew that Jawan and Kisan are something which are close to the people's heart. You know, it gets to the heart. People at large may not be understanding the fiscal outsets of the MSP and all that. They are not interested. For them, MSP is not literally technical thing. For them, MSP is something which probably is required for the farmers. What they mean by supporting MSP is that support the farmer, take care of the farmer, look at what the farmer needs, look into the farmer's agony, you know, that's where their heart is. Same way, one rank, one pension, same way Agniveer, you know, for Jawan and Kisan, one has to understand these are two, these are two areas which are non-negotiable as far as the Indian heart is concerned. It's a battle of heart and the head and the heart, as you call it.
And so, if you look at the issues that the Mood of the Nation poll brings out, one of the big things, apart from these three major things which makes the BJP very uncomfortable, is the larger finding that despite the fact that they still trust Prime Minister Modi and his ratings continue to be high, though there is a little nuance in that. Those who believe that he was, outstanding category, that has decreased considerably, and the good categories moved up. So there is a little,
there is a little swing from for the audience to understand. You know, when we ask how happy with you with Raj or Yashwant like that, extremely happy, not very happy, unhappy, somewhat happy, and extremely unhappy kind of thing. So his ratings from extremely happy have gone down to happy. But if you club happy and extremely together,
it looks the same.
It looks the same.
But there is a
difference.
Let's call it the sheen has gone a little bit.
Sheen has gone a bit down.
But what I think the most important finding that is there, apart from the fact of reiterating what happened in June 2024 and the fact that there is an emergence of Rahul Gandhi as the opposition leader that everybody needs to look out for and look at in that sense, the two big issues, their major concerns were unemployment and price rise. And the numbers this time is even higher than what we had last time. In terms of seriousness of the unemployment problem, it has gone to 78%. So somewhere, and another question that we had asked in this poll, India Today Sea Voter poll, was, do you believe in the government figures that they had generated 80 million jobs in the last 3 years? And there was a big no. So if you look at that fact, we were talking of hurdles in the third term. Mr. Modi is the first big hurdle where he doesn't get a majority. Right? Now comes the real hard part, which is he has to deliver on these two fronts. That's the larger message of the Mood of the Nation poll.
Exactly. And just to remind our audience in that way, economic distress, we have been highlighting it for the last multiple issues of MOTN. You know, it is just that the emotive issues were being on the forefront. Balakot happened, something else happened, Ram Temple happened, something else happened. So the issues of bread and butter, issues of economic distress, joblessness, they were there, but somehow they did not happen to be electoral issues at that point of time. But today, it seems that emotional quotient has gone down.
Right.
IQ has gone up, the issue of bread and butter. So, the economic distress, people are telling that how it is impacting their life, their quality of life, their distress at large. There is high optimism as well, Raj. That's amazing. India as a country,
Yes.
It's an amazing optimistic
and
country.
that is what the Prime Minister could work at, because what you are saying, if you, 60% of them said household expenses are difficult. But when we ask, and that's a large number, 60% saying that they are having difficulty in managing the household.
It has become unmanageable.
That's
the
word.
Question.
Yes.
It's become unmanageable.
And that
that's
I think,
huge.
and that's the resilience I would gather of the Indian public. But they say that they're optimistic, that they see change in 6 months, and that's why I think Prime Minister Modi and the
Has to work.
and the NDA government has to move quickly, because there is this window of optimism. If you're not able to meet that window, it will begin to again the dissatisfaction levels can go up considerably.
Exactly, and the folly here is that unfortunately, the way the politics works, I mean, of course, if you work on the economy or you work on the emotive side of it, to feel that economy will be somewhere backhanded, that would be a wrong strategy to do. I would say, if I have to suggest, I would say that do something about the inflation, do something about the economic jobs and everything. Let the people know that you are really seriously working on the economy side for the bottom of the pyramid, not just the Labharti schemes, but in a real tangible way. And don't try to deviate from the issue by using the emotive issues, because that backfires.
Yes.
That backfires big time. And then the three issues on the other side are equally, because the way the public thinks is so amazing. Indians are like, sometimes they amaze in the way the progressive think,
Common sense.
Common sense, as they say. On the other side, they are also telling the opposition, just don't run away with this thing, because you might like to oppose each and everything that the government is bringing in, but let me tell you that we are in favor of one nation, one election. We are in favor of uniform civil code. The progressive things which take our society forward, we are in favor of them.
Absolutely.
So that's how the public is reacting and
They've
giving a
actually
message.
balanced it. On one side, you had mentioned the Agniveer, they want changes, which is very critical. They want the MSP to come into it. They want a caste census. On the government's favor side, they say, yes, one nation, one poll should go through. The uniform civil code has got ringing endorsement, and that can be done. So the government gets its pluses as well on this.
They get their pluses point. But at the same time, I also feel there is a very classical sense of public on certain issues to get away with it. It's like, do it and get done with this.
Yes.
It's like,
don't drag it out.
Yeah, don't drag it. Like the Ram Temple thing. Do it, right thing to do, but so that you focus on the real issues.
Yes.
That's what the public is telling. Do it, uniform civil code. Don't drag it. Do it, this thing.
And the same thing they say, that J&K elections, don't postpone it at any cost.
Don't postpone it at any cost.
It on.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, you see, the BJP again will have to, just like Rahul Gandhi had to reinvent himself, I think the BJP has to move towards that, because if you see the key issues that drove them in some senses, the Ram Temple, for a while the whole, hawa over that was there, and that has been fulfilled. Credit to them that they were able to build the temple, get the land and do everything that's there. But that is not, that as we've seen even in Ayodhya, electorally that is not benefiting. It had its, it's a date, that date seems to have expired.
That's it.
So you cannot keep milking that particular thing, and that's a lesson that the BJP probably has to take.
And the lesson for the BJP, don't try to milk it over and over again. Lesson to the opposition, don't you think we defeated them in Ayodhya means we are not in favor of Ram Temple? Don't try to be overtly get on the other side as
Absolutely.
well. So they are very clear. They are very clear. And when it's very humbling, when you talk to hundreds and thousands of common people.
What was the numbers you spoke to for this poll?
In the last 1 month, 40,000, but in our tracker, almost 90,000. So when you club them together, it's almost 130,000 kind of interviews that we conducted across 543 seats.
Wow.
All right. And Raj, just to be very clear, because people say, from one MOTN to the other, so this is from the last January to till now. No. For the projections, we only use data after 5th of June, because that's the new resetting of the baseline.
Correct.
That's important for us to understand. Having said that, listening to public is always very, very humbling. You know,
and that's something I think politicians and everybody else should be getting
they
into.
should be getting
and journalists, of course. I'm
yes,
not
of course,
absolving
yes.
ourselves
We
from
have
that.
to. In any case, as a journalist, we have to. But for the politicians to, the problem with the politicians always is that they always read the glass half full or glass half empty as per their own understanding. While the public, did you realize in one very significant trend in this MOTN? Every trend has gone further. You know, the trends like for Uniform Civil Code, if we were getting in 60s, it has gone 70s. MSP, if we were getting 50s and 60s, 70s.
Don't make
Do
it.
it. Yeah. So, see how public is not leaving any scope of ambiguity.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
When they look at it, oh, when we say 60, they say 40% do not want this and that. No, we are going to 70s.
Wherever
80s.
the issues are, clarity is
Very much there in the public.
I think, you know, while there's a lot of messages for the ruling party in terms of governance, they do get good marks, by the way, in the sense that the people still believe that the NDA government and particularly Prime Minister Modi is up there. They are still betting on him. So the NDA need not lose heart. The BJP, of course, Prime Minister never does lose heart. He's, you know, as we've seen in the Independence Day speech, he's all can do. Yeah. But I think where we need to look a bit at the opposition, while Rahul Gandhi, particularly the Congress, could feel quite cheered up by this, let's look at a couple of things. One, there's a huge gap in terms of percentage of votes. Congress gets 25%, BJP gets 38%. They have to make up for that. Second point is, they need to win in a direct fight with the BJP. They're in close to 220 seats. Last time, the reason why their tally went up was because they were able to get about 60 of those as compared to earlier when they were winning only 10, 15. So for the Congress, the thing is that while the foundation is being laid for a launch of a kind, both Rahul Gandhi and them have to start now working on issues to convince the public that they are a viable alternative. Right now, even the MOTN doesn't believe, the Mood of the Nation poll doesn't say that they're viable alternatives. Exactly. They still treat them as a good opposition. Am I right? Yeah,
you are absolutely right. And earlier on the other side of the show when we were talking over there, I was very, your point about the youth voter, young voter and the number of youngsters on the opposition benches of different parties, from Akhilesh to Tejaswi.
That's right. There is a coalition of the younger.
Coalition of the younger one. And the new voter that is coming in, that is a remarkable point, Raj, because I do believe that every election cycle we have got about 10% of new electorate coming in and 10% phasing out. And then after the third victory or so, we are going to look at almost half the voter who doesn't really remember the UPA years by the time next election happen. Now, think of it in a way, if the BJP has to also reinvent in terms of the next leadership. I am attaching that point to the point of the first point when we started the show, the accountability. That people are happy with Mr. Modi, but people are unhappy with the way his people are running. Mr. Modi's people, his chief ministers, his member of parliaments, you know, that is where the disconnect is coming. Now, if Rahul Gandhi can make the use of that disconnect by chipping in his youth and young brigade,
jobs are the youth are most affected by lack of jobs.
I think that could be a big game changer for them. On the other hand, I had a very, very unique way of observing our data from Rahul Srivastav. Just we are on the London Top Show, and I did not look at it that way. But he said that this growth of Congress is less of an headache for the BJP and more of a headache for India Alliance partners. And I was said, okay, that's a new perspective. I did not look at it that way.
To be fair, the MOTN does show that while Rahul Gandhi has emerged as the prime challenger, everybody else is getting far, far below, down to, and also another statistic that is very interesting. Not only is Rahul Gandhi above all of them when asked who should be the next prime minister after Modi, in the opposition rung, he goes at least 10, 12% points higher. He's also 10%, close to 10% higher than the other BJP candidates. Amit Shah,
everybody else,
Yogi, Adityanath, all of the others, Rajnath or whoever else you look at, he has a gap of 8 to 10%. So he is, of course, positioning himself as that. But even to this day, the regional parties, the regional chieftains is what he needs to build a coalition with.
Exactly.
Because clearly he cannot do it. And that is where the other thing, the BJP, it's not just the Congress that is stalling the BJP, it's really the regional chieftains, whether you name Mamata Banerjee, and a phenomenal performance that happened in the assembly elections, and even in the Lok Sabha, she still holds the reins there.
Yeah.
And if you, as you go down, you see the way, in the south, you've got all the chieftains that, whether Stalin that is holding them.
Exactly.
You know, if you come, of course, to Kerala, you're not getting in. So there is a regional sort of force. Even in Maharashtra, there's such regional party forces that the BJP finds it difficult to penetrate. The Congress has leveraged it. But
Congress is leveraged.
as it grows, that distance from the regional parties, because they now see the BJP is a threat, they're veered towards the Congress. That balancing act, we have to see how Rahul Gandhi will play.
Rahul Gandhi manages that, and it was nice to see him in Srinagar, going ahead with the national conference. But every time they go for a seat talk, there is always something or other which tells you the tendency, as the India alliance partners call it, of Congress. The moment they get oxygen, they end up trying to start playing the senior partner over there. For example, the big brother. For example, the 10 bipoles in Uttar Pradesh.
Right.
Now, look at the way the Samajwadi Party has reacted to Congress demand of 4 seats. Or for that matter, even national conference reactions of Congress demanding seats in Srinagar and Ganderbal. I mean, Ganderbal is Abdullah Best.
Now that we're talking on the final point on this, I know we've taken a lot of time already on this thing. We have 4 state elections. What is your mood? Let's start with Haryana. What is your mood of the nation poll? We normally don't do, you have drilled it down, right?
Yeah.
The mood of the nation poll is the mood of the nation. We don't get into state polls at all. But there are certain trend lines that you're seeing, which you do, your own tracker.
Yeah.
I want to make it very clear that that is your tracker.
Yeah.
We have not represented this in the magazine, because we believe that we'd keep the sacrosanct thing of the mood of the nation rather than just state polls. But what is your quickly?
So from the tracker, and also from one portion of the mood of the nation, that whatever their national voting emotion mood is for the Lok Sabha election, if you remove the Modi dividend from the BJP's tally, because in the last 10 years it is pretty evident that BJP gains almost like 10, 12, 15, even 20% Modi dividend in states when the Lok Sabha elections are there. And then the vote share drops whenever the assembly election happens. Haryana happened last time. Lok Sabha election and assembly election, they dropped almost like 20 points, So from that perspective, I can say that if I pull out the Modi dividend from these vote shares, I see Haryana as a really troublesome place for the BJP.
At the moment, the Congress has the edge.
The Congress has a definite edge over there.
And Jharkhand?
Jharkhand, the BJP has an edge, but Hemant Soren still remains a force. He has taken one poll, he has taken his father's legacy to next level. Problem with the BJP is that BJP doesn't want to counter him with giving the name and face of Babulal Marandi, which is a surprise to me. Why exactly is that? Because Babulal Marandi happens to be the most popular person among the chief ministerial aspirants in our number in the Jharkhand region. So it depends a lot on how BJP progresses, but at this point of time it seems like advantage BJP in Jharkhand.
And in Jammu and Kashmir?
In Jammu and Kashmir, the advantage with the BJP in the Jammu region, with the national conference in the Valley region. Now the Jammu Kashmir saga is going to be decided by 2 performances. How good can Congress perform in Jammu?
Right.
Can it place 10, 15, 20 seats,
right,
in Jammu and take the, BJP's wing away from that? And how good the others and the smaller players like Engineer Rashid won as an independent, defeating Omar Abdullah.
In the Lok Sabha.
Funny thing is that even Omar Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti both lost their seats, right? So there is a huge churn going on in the valley. How many others independent smaller parties they win in Valley, and how many Congress? These are the 2 indicators we need to have a look at it. But otherwise, it's advantage BJP in Jammu and advantage National Conference in Valley. Now coming down to your big state of
Maharashtra. That is the question, because that's a make or break state for any. I mean, both the ruling NDA as well as for the India alliance.
So Maharashtra is a very typically weird state. Yes, the NDA got big time dampener in the Lok Sabha elections. That was we have been expecting and predicting in the last so many MOTNs. But at the same time, certain schemes, certain things which the people do, like for example, this copycat of Ladli Behna Yojana of Madhya Pradesh, that is creating flutters.
So at the moment, where does it, I know Maharashtra is this thing, but where is the balance? Is it now even Stevens or the MVA?
No, I mean, if you want to stick my neck out, I will say it is advantage opposition.
The NVA.
Yeah, the NBA, it is advantage to them. But after the Lok Sabha election, which was looking absolutely down and out, I would suggest that, okay, they are now kind of back in action, and I still need time to study what is the actual electoral impact of this scheme is going to be, because there are crores of application over there, of the females, and they are telling that, they want to ensure before Diwali, they release 3 tranches of the payment.
So we will be, whether that will become a deciding factor, the kind of welfare schemes that they have pumped out is to be seen. Yeah. But Yashwant Deshmukh, I know we could continue, there's so much in this Mood of the Nation poll that India Today
but
and
thank you so much. It's been it's a lovely, delightful journey to create a data culture of understanding the mood. Thanks to Arun Puri that we started more than 20 years back on this journey.
So we are 20 years old in this.
Exactly.
And there's no one really who does the kind of tracking we do. And for your sort of detailed analysis that you always give us every 6 months, we are the barometer. I would suggest, thank you so much, Yashwant, for being on the show here. Thank you being with me in this episode of Nothing But the Truth. Do pick up the latest issue of India Today. It has the full results. Not only looking at the larger outcomes, but drill down to all the big questions, including the lighter side, who is the most popular film star, who is the best singer in the country. So there's something for everyone in it. All the key issues that are discussed now on the stands. Do pick it up and look forward to having you with me next week. Nothing but the truth.